Alright everybody, diecastmania here, and today we're going to be doing the Caterpillar part of the collection update. So, anyway, this is part of a multi-part series to show off the mostly 1/50th scale collection. So I realized that there was no real way that I was going to be able to fit all this into one video, so anyway, here we go. In the back, we have the Conrad D400 on the left, Bertel D350D on the right, and next to that we have the NZG D250E. This is the first version of the D250E. The second version of the Series 2 had the integrated headlights in the grille. So here we have two very different cat excavators. The one on the left, true Caterpillar product, the original Winross 235. And on the right, we have the Mitsubishi EL300, or E300 rather. So this was a rebranded Mitsubishi machine with a cat motor in it. That's made by Shinsei in Japan. We have the limited edition 245 with the Balderson hammer and the new cat markings and paint. We have the 245, the original Pac-Man version with the front shovel attachment. This is the NZG one. Well, that's an NZG as well. And the NZG 245 standard excavator. So in the back we have a 769C by NZG, M316D, Norscott. In the back of the 769D we have a 416 backhoe. Both the truck and the backhoe are NZG models. And in the back we have the Tonkin 775G. In the front we have a 988F by NZG, 966F by NZG, 555D skidder by Tonkin Replicas. Funny story with that one. Certain individual that was representing a predominantly Tonkin exclusive distributor at the time claimed that all the toolings for the 555D were destroyed because Tonkin had basically lost the Caterpillar license and no more were to be produced. Only for Diecast Masters to produce the 555D later on with updated tires and range of motion with a figure in the cab. And now Cat technically sold off the wheeled line of Forester equipment. Well, actually quite a bit more than their wheeled line of Forester equipment. Anything that isn't the excavator based ones to Weiler, which is I believe a company run by Caterpillar Associates. So anyway, there is the 963D. I have the track skid steer around here somewhere. We have the 215 by NZG next to a 320E, well F rather, showing the generation gap in Caterpillar excavators. Here we have the D9T, Diecast Masters. We have the old D8N. We have a D8L by Arpra. We have some real interesting ones here. These are D6H's by Conrad, so many different versions of this model. We have the enclosed cab with the black tracks. We have the open cab with the ripper, the two-piece ripper with the wide yellow rubber tracks. They're a little bit wider than the black ones. And we have D6H in pyramid markings, new cat yellow, with a tiny single piece ripper, the loader tooth, and these weird yellow tracks. So there's so many different versions of this model. There's ones with winches. There's a rumored prototype D6, no, not D6H, D5H. Oh, and check this out. This is a really early version with 3 rollers on the bottom. Later versions had more rollers added. So there's your little history lesson of the D6H. You have a classic Gesha later Conrad D9G. And we have the metal tracked version that was distributed by Norscot in the 1990s. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next part of the Caterpillar collection. Alright, so here we go. Here we have the classic construction models, or CCMs. We have the 245 mass excavator, stock 245 mass excavator with a different bucket on it. I think that's a 374 bucket, painted black. We have the 245 material handler, the classic Caterpillar D10. This is the original one with the semi-U blade. And the single shank ripper, single stack. We have the 834 wheel dozer, based off of the 988 loader. And we have the 992C beadless tire version. So the beadless tire, or earlier known as the dry stud tire, was basically like a rubber bladder with pretty much track pads bolted to them. And the idea was to prevent tire wear in abrasive environments, rock quarries and mines, where sharp blasted rock could pretty much go in and destroy loader tires very quickly and cause catastrophic failures. So they kind of had this design going, hoping that it would reduce the wear and prevent tire puncture. So anyway, that kind of lasted for a little bit until they figured out chains worked and were a lot cheaper. So tougher tires with chains kind of outweighed the cost of this very specific pattern. So on the real machines that have been converted to standard tires, you can kind of tell that they previously ran dry stud or beadless tires because they have the extra fenders over the front. So yeah, there's that fun little fact. One more shot at this, and we'll be moving on. So here's technically part of the Caterpillar collection. So here we have 325 BL with a custom tunneling boom. So here's this. We have the Cat 312 BL with a thumb, bone stock 312 BL, and we have the 350Ls in the background. So 350L on the left, this is the one that I built from scratch. Well, technically, from parts rather. Has the opening engine compartment, grapple on it, full plumbing for auxiliary attachments, and here's the MDF 350L ME. Not completely happy with the look of this model. Certain things look pretty off with it, but still nice. And now on to the next part. So here's the last little bit of the Caterpillar collection. Well, one of the last parts. We have the 5080 with an excavator boom on it. 375 with a grapple. 375 with a different bucket. 375 with a Van Tunen style 3-piece adjustable boom. We have the 5110B and the 390F. So anyway, here are some Caterpillar excavator oddities to continue with the collection. So anyway, here we have the 340DL by Tonkin Replicas. You know, I have my opinions about this model. It's not the greatest, but it's not the worst either. So this model, technically, the real machine anyway, is a offshore market machine blending a 336DL/330DL with upsized components from 345D. So those parts would be the undercarriage, probably pumps, and other components, beefed up boom stick. But anyway, what Tonkin Replicas did was they recycled the undercarriage, boomstick, and bucket from the 568 forestry machine, and they basically just took the thumb off of it and called it good. So there's that model. It's unique looking because of the high walker undercarriage and it not being an actual forestry machine. But I digress. Here's the Rega 325 made by Entertech/Shinsei. Now this model looks really strange because it's actually based on the heavily modified toolings to the EL300, or E300 rather, which is a repaint of the MS280 and the MS300. So, covered the 300 in the earlier part of the video, but back to the 325. So the Rega basically is the Asian market spec version. So this is the original 325. I believe Entertech also sold these without the Rega markings. So it's got a really long boom and stick. Looks kind of funny. And basically it's built off of a very late 70s machine and not like the real one. But anyway, as you can see, undercarriage definitely shows its age. The cab, in keeping the dimensions, wound up being pretty skinny. And, there's just a lot of quirks to this model. But still, it's pretty cool. Now, anyway, there's that. In keeping with the excavator theme, here's the big one. This is the 5130B, made by NZG. This is the launch edition version with the metal tracks. Has a number to it as well, as with all launch edition models. It's a very sizable machine. This is a mining excavator, part of Caterpillar's somewhat ill-fated 5000 series mining machines. Now the tracks are a little bit questionable on this, but they're definitely better than rubber. So here is the big monster, the 5130B. It's got these movable ladders on the machine. Classic blue NZG glass. So here are the military Caterpillar models. Starting off with these, we have the D8R by Norscot. So Norscot did a set in the earlier 2000s of the D8R, the 980G in the background, I believe a 148 grader, and a, I think it was a 623 elevating scraper. And then later on they did a tan series with the, I believe, a articulated dump truck. I think it was the 725 or the 730. Roller, and I believe a dozer, the D6K. I'm probably leaving one out, but whatever. So anyway, this is the original series with the D8R. It's a D8R, has its shortfallings, but still looks pretty decent. The camo is kind of overdone, honestly, but this was trying to resemble the earlier 2000s before everything just went either solid tan or solid Kark green, chemical resistant green. So there's that. We have the 980G. This one's actually a little bit modified. Has the black cab on it, black stripe, black grills. Originally would have just come straight camo, but I decided to do something about that and fix it up a little bit. So here's the last one. The D7R, as Tonkin Replicas called it. Very short-lived model by them. But really, it's a D6R. Things I didn't like about this model. Ripper doesn't go down very far. And the tracks are on the common axle, so they both roll at the same time. So this is the D6R with no B kit or armor kit on the cab. It's the standard cab that you would get on the D6. So they tried to call it a D7R because the D7 is one of the more popular machines that Caterpillar sells to the defense sector. So there's the military cats. Moving on. Here we go with the D11Ns. These are by Conrad. As you can see, two different blades and two different rippers. So the D11N is basically what the original D10 became after various upgrades. So this one's got this style ripper, and the other one's basically got the ripper unmodified from the original Conrad D10 model. So the D11Ns by Conrad are very much based off of the original D10 model. Now the blade arms are the same. The body is generally the same except for the addition of 2 air cleaners, 2 stacks, different motor. And of course on this one a different ripper assembly, but the other one has the same ripper. Different blade. I like to call this one the dustpan blade because it kind of looks like a dustpan. You just need a broom to clean everything up with. And fortunately, this one has a better equalizer bar. The D10 had this really notorious drooping problem where the whole thing would just tip forward nose first. And you got these snazzy plastic tracks, ones that look like actual links rather than the big thick rubber band that was on the D10. Now, moving on to the smaller side of the dozers. Got the D4E by NZG and the newer version. So this is the new cat yellow version with the pyramid graphics. Older version with the carryover logo. Yeah, this is the transition before the pyramid. The black stripe. Really neat little models. Not quite dozers anymore, but here we go. 983. The big one. The biggest cat track loader ever. I believe they sat on like a D8K or like a D9 undercarriage. One of the two. A very, very large track loader, you know. Not something that would be produced today. No. Barely a track loader. This is a compact track loader. Track skid steer, whatever you want to call it, by Diecast Masters. The 269D, sorry, 259D. Wow. There's this little guy with the multiple attachments. It has a general purpose bucket, I believe a light materials bucket, grapple bucket, and forks. Now, wrapping it all up, got a little loader, 906, Norscott model. We got 825B compactor by Joel. Neat little piece. Very heavy, solidly built, characteristic of a Joel model. And to wrap it all up, we got this classic. A little known classic, to be honest. Unless you've been in this a while. This is the ARPA Mini Model 966C. Made in Brazil. This is a really neat little model. Well, I always thought this would have looked a lot better with a cab, but down there they don't run these with cabs. So, really minty example of one's just missing the exhaust deck, but I also got the 966R, which is the Brazilian home market version with different graphics. It had the black striped decal, it said 966R over there. But anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. That is the Caterpillar collection. Hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for the rest of the collection videos.